I have provided to the special prosecutor voluntarily a great deal of material. I believe that I have provided all the material that he needs to conclude his investigations and to proceed to prosecute the guilty and to clear the innocent, the president said. I believe the time has come to bring that investigation and the other investigations of this matter to an end. 1 year of Watergate is enough. The speaker was Richard Nixon, delivering the annual State of the Union speech in January 1974, not quite 8 months before he resigned ahead of almost certain impeachment. As President Trump prepares to give his first formal State of the Union speech on Tuesday, it's unclear whether he will mention former FBI Director Robert Mueller's investigation into the 2016 campaign. If he chooses not to confront the issue in this setting, Trump would be following the example of Bill Clinton, who made no mention of the investigation by independent counsel Ken Starr into his relationship with former intern Monica Lewinsky in his State of the Union speeches in 1998, 1999 and 2000. Whether or not Trump trains his fire on Mueller is just one of many things to watch for in the speech. The yearly remarks also provide an unparalleled forum for Trump to boast of what he views as the biggest victories of his young presidency, as well as lay out his agenda going forward and kick off a year of politicking ahead of the November 2018 midterm elections. Trump spoke to a joint session of the Senate and House of Representatives on February 28, 2017. But those remarks were not technically a State of the Union address, which by tradition takes place each January except in the first year of a new president's term. Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution says that the President shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the State of the Union, and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. It doesn't specify that he should do so in a primetime TV speech, sometimes lampooned as "I come to you tonight to speak in ringing tones and gaze into the middle distance." In addition to the Mueller question, here are other things to watch for in Trump's speech, which the White House says is titled "Building a Safe, Strong, and Proud America." But the president will also want to shine a spotlight on his agenda, including hardline proposals on immigration, a potential infrastructure plan, or pushing for new sanctions on Iran. Amid signs that his administration is taking a newly tough line on trade with China, Trump could announce new steps to punish Beijing. And he could press world leaders to step up enforcement of sanctions against North Korea. A senior administration official, briefing reporters on condition he not be named, said last week that the 5 themes in the speech would be the economy, infrastructure, immigration, trade, and national security. Some notable past State of the Union policy moments include James Monroe announcing the Monroe Doctrine in 1823 and George W. Bush promising action in 2002 against an axis of evil encompassing Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. Ronald Reagan transformed the State of the Union in one important way. Reagan's 1982 address came 2 weeks after an airliner crashed into the icy Potomac River. The president gave one of the heroes to emerge from the tragedy, Lenny Skutnik, a seat in the gallery overlooking the chamber and paid tribute to him in his remarks. Since then, presidents and, increasingly, lawmakers have invited people they can use to make a point. In D.C. jargon, they're known as Skutniks. These guests can lend emotional punch to a president's words. When Trump addressed Congress last year, the entire chamber came to its feet when he pointed out Karen Owens, the widow of a Navy SEAL killed in Yemen. The standing ovation provided one of the most memorable moments of his remarks. On Monday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders told reporters that the current crop of guests would include an Ohio welder, 2 couples whose daughters were killed by members of the MS-13 gang, which consists mostly of immigrants from Central America, a Marine corporal badly wounded in Iraq, Americans involved in disaster relief in last year's hurricane season, a New Mexico police officer, a government investigator whose work led to arrests of MS-13 gang members, a serviceman who took part in the war on ISIS, an activist who puts flags and red carnations on soldiers' graves, and a brother and sister team of business owners who say their workers received larger Christmas bonuses because of the Republican tax cut law. The Democratic base doesn't want the party's elected leaders to cooperate with Trump on issues like immigration. Whether they can find common ground with the president on infrastructure or trade, the party's left is also inclined to try to protect besieged U.S. industries, remains to be seen. And then there's the question of vulnerable Democratic senators in states where Trump won. Will they decide that the electoral math in their states compels them to edge closer to Trump? Or would that only drive off the Democratic base voters they need to win? The aftermath of the speech matters as much as what the president says in the chamber. Will the president crisscross the country in favor of his favored initiatives? That sort of travel would double as pre-midterm campaigning. How much work is he prepared to do to advance his legislative proposals? And how quickly will he ruin the mood with a bad tweet? A senior House Republican aide remarked to NewsPulse News. The aide requested anonymity to avoid reprisals from the White House. But because this gives him what is likely to be his largest audience of the year, the pressure is on to stick to the script and make the most of his agenda-setting opportunity. As of a few days ago, Vice President Mike Pence had about 30 events on his calendar for House, Senate, and gubernatorial candidates in 2018. Will the president match that level of energy? The success of Trump's legislative agenda may depend on it. And depending on what, if anything, Mueller unearths, keeping Democrats from retaking the House may prove key to saving his presidency.